Welcome to Teen Talk. I'm going to guess that if I said to you, who should be the caregiver in a family, the parent or the child or children, I'm sure all of you would say we would expect that it's parents who care for the rest of the family. Well, today's program is about turning the tables on that notion. We're going to be talking with teenagers who actually are major or primary caregivers to their parents. Very interesting perspective. My first guest is Jamie. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. First time on television, huh, Jamie?
Yes.
We were saying that before, so you're ready to, make a debut. Tell our viewers, tell me the story of your family as much as you'd like to share.
Well, my sister is 17, and she's going to college in August. My dad works at Tire Kingdom. He's a manager. And my mom has got multiple sclerosis.
And you are, don't leave yourself out. How old are you?
And I'm 14 and I go to Ramblewood Middle School.
Okay. Now we're talking about caregiving, parents who need the help of their kids. What does that mean for your family? How long has your mother been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis?
I think it's going on 7 or 8 years this year.
And you're now 14, you said. So that's almost, if not more than half your life.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of effect does that have on you, or did it have on you when you were first very young? Did you understand what that meant?
No, I did not.
Yeah? How did you react?
I didn't really understand it at all when I was younger, but now I came to understand more about it.
And what have you understood? What do you understand?
Why my mom has to rest all the time, and just more about the disease.
Mm-hmm. How has that affected you? As I said, we're talking about caregivers. Do you see yourself as a caregiver? Sometimes people label people things, and that's not really the case. How do you think of yourself in terms of your mother and her needs?
I wouldn't consider myself a caregiver, but I do stuff for her sometimes, and I just help her out around the house.
Mm-hmm. In what ways?
Like, I'd walk the dog or do dishes or something, clean up around the house.
Mm-hmm. Are there any ways that you would say your family is different and your life is different because of your mother's illness?
I don't find it that different from other families.
Mm-hmm. Are people understanding? I mean, do people know generally that there's someone who has a serious condition in your life?
They don't know right off the bat, but I end up telling them just if they're wondering why my mom is sleeping when they come over or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just tell them.
Mm-hmm. How would you say? How do they handle it?
They don't. They just say okay, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. So it's pretty natural in the course of things.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Are there any things that you would say to somebody whose parent might have a serious illness? Any advice that you would give them?
Not that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
No.
It sounds to me as though you see this as a kind of a normal situation. There's been no change. Is there anything you can't do or don't do? You mentioned, for example, that your mother is in need of rest. Does that put any kind of if not a burden, does that change the kinds of things you're able to do?
No, because she's downstairs and I usually am upstairs, so it doesn't really bother me.
Mm-hmm. How about your sister? We're going to talk to your sister a little bit later. How has your mother's illness affected your relationship with your father or with your sister?
It's always been the same. I guess I spend more time with my dad because my mom sometimes needs more rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I just spend more time with my dad.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about your mother and how, in your eyes, she handles her illness.
I guess she takes it day by day. She can't predict what's going to happen. She just lives her life day by day.
Is there anything that's, sometimes people think, oh, Here's a young woman, she's, 14, she was 7 when she found out, she didn't really understand. And sometimes, in an odd way, when there are difficult circumstances, they have a way of turning out to make people stronger or make people understand. When you see people, and we all see people, who might have an illness or who might have a problem, how would you gauge your reaction to them as a result of your own family situation?
Sometimes I just understand more what they're going through, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that is difficult for you? I mean, are there, I understand that, it's hard sometimes to look at yourself and say, well, this is problematical or this is difficult. Is there anything that you see at 14 that is difficult for you as a result of your family situation? I'm going to suspect you're going to say no, because you seem like a very strong. Were you always a strong person? Do you think of yourself as a strong person?
Yes.
What made you strong?
Just growing up and just going through a lot of things, I just learned to, I don't know, I'm just not like an emotional person. I hold things in. I just got stronger over the years. You
hold things in. Does that mean some things want to come out but you don't let them out?
I guess, yeah.
What would you like to let out that maybe you're not letting out?
Feelings about how I feel about other people.
Such as?
If I don't like them.
Oh, okay. So you're more, what is it, you're a little more guarded, you're a little more tactful?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. You seem like a very mature person for your age. And because of that, I don't want you to leave the studio. You promised me you won't, because you're going to come back. We're going to be joined by your sister and by Joanne, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about what it's like to be a caregiver. I know you said you didn't think of yourself as a caregiver. I have a feeling you give a lot more care than maybe you want to realize. So don't go away. We'll be right back. So, Joanne, thank you for taking over the caregiver seat. When I asked Jamie if she was a caregiver, she said she didn't think she was a caregiver. You think you're a caregiver?
Not really.
No, huh? This is a show about caregivers and nobody wants to be a caregiver? How do you think of yourself?
I just think of myself as someone who cares for her father.
Okay. Well, that's a caregiver. Maybe that's a care for. Okay? So tell us a little bit about your family situation.
Well, my father has multiple sclerosis, and my mother is also a caregiver, and of course I'm a caregiver.
Mm-hmm. So you are a caregiver after all. Uh-huh. Now, how long ago was your father diagnosed?
I think about 9 years ago.
9 years ago. So you must have been very little, huh? Has there ever been a time when you didn't think of when you thought of your father as not having been sick, not having an illness?
No.
Always been the case, huh?
Yeah.
You know, what you said at the very beginning is very important, and I don't want to glide over it. You said, I don't think of myself as a caregiver, but as somebody who cares. And you know, sometimes we think of caregiving as doing something for somebody, as opposed to just caring about somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah? How does that, I mean, you're a young person. How do you translate caring about somebody as more than just, I do this, I do that? What does that mean for you, caring about?
Well, for me, that means, like, other than getting him water, I would, like, fix his feet when his feet are in pain, and I would take his blood pressure.
So you're like a nurse. I mean, how old are you?
12.
How long have you been taking his blood pressure?
About 1 or 2 years now.
Uh-huh. So you had to learn how to take somebody's blood pressure, huh? Most of your friends, kids your age, know how to take somebody's blood pressure?
No.
No, huh? What else is caring for him?
Well, sometimes, because on his wheelchair he has 2 different headrests, and sometimes his neck gets really tired, so I change them out for him. And sometimes when he's like really thirsty, I get him water, and I make him something to eat. Whatever he needs, basically.
Whatever he needs. Now, take me through what you might do in the course of a day? For example, obviously you go to school and you have other things to do. How much of your day may be spent actually helping your father?
Most of the day.
Most of the day?
Yeah.
So take me through a schedule. Like, what time do you get up to go to school?
I get up to go to school at 6 a.m. and I have to leave at 8 to get there.
Okay.
Then I come
Now,
back.
do you care for your father at all when you're getting up in the morning, too?
Not really. Maybe if he needs water or not.
Okay.
But he's mostly just fine in the morning.
Okay.
And then I come home from school. It's about almost 5 o'clock when I come home from school. And then when I get home, I put all my stuff down and he asks me if I have homework and I say yes or no. Then I usually get him something to eat and I get him, like, again, water if he needs it, and I fix his feet, and sometimes I take his blood pressure.
Mm-hmm. And you look in on him during the course of the day before you go to bed?
Yes.
So you're there, huh? Describe your relationship with your father other than in terms of, helping him in those ways. I mean, he's a person, obviously. I mean, is he funny? Is he not funny?
Well, he's really funny, and he, always kids around with me a lot, making jokes about what I say.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just, he's a person, not just somebody to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of reaction do your friends or people who know you have to the fact when they know that you're giving the kind of care you are?
Well, most of them are, surprised because they don't really know anyone else, that does the same thing, my age.
Mm-hmm. And what do you tell them?
I just tell them
if they
about
say to
my
you,
dad.
But if they say to you, gee, how can you do that, Joanne? Don't you want to go out and play? Would you rather go out and play?
Well, not really. I do want to go out and play, but I'd rather make sure my dad's okay.
Mm-hmm. He appreciates what you do for him?
Very much.
Yeah? Yeah. What would you say to somebody who because one of the things about this program is trying to communicate that this kind of thing can happen to anybody. This is not something where you say, oh, well, it's only this kind of person or that kind of person. Anybody can have an accident or can suddenly have an illness and the tables can turn. What would you say to somebody who might discover at some point they're still young, that their parent now needs them to pitch in and help them? What would you say to them?
I just tell him to do whatever he needs.
Mm-hmm. Is there any time you ever felt angry about what you have to do? That you're kind of tied down a little bit?
I don't know. I think sometimes, but not really.
Yeah? So you're telling them to pitch in and do what's necessary, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody who doesn't understand when they say to you, or you say to them, this is my circumstance? Anybody ever say to you, I don't know how you do it?
No, not really.
Yeah. So, what are you going to be a nurse? What are you going to do in your later life? Is this kind of experience affect you in certain ways that maybe charts the rest of your life?
Not really, because being a caregiver right now, but I would like to try something new.
Something new in the future, huh? What do you think that might be?
I don't know, maybe a marine biologist.
Uh-huh. Your father's supportive of that? Does he tell you to study and get ahead?
Yep.
Yep.